All right, so you wrote an interesting article. Portland cover-up was social workers' evidence manipulation driven by Title 4D funding. What happened here?
You got a case out there. And the lady's name is Martina. She's the mother, and it's Portland, Oregon. It's a acrimonious case. So you have this guy Jackson, who is the social worker, and this guy is just a nasty, nasty fellow, and he's basically a bounty hunter for I would say Title 4D. What is not part of this article and what came out after I published was the case was in court the other day, and the children are now no longer in the mother's custody, and they're not in the father's custody. They're in foster care, right? And that's been a trend with this guy that whatever he finds that both parents are unfit, and the children for a time end up in foster care. There's been allegations that he even said to the mother and the mother's family that you're never going to see your children again. They're in the foster care system.
Through the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, which was passed in the 70s, along with the Adoption and Safe Families Act, which was passed under Bill Clinton, my least favorite legislative action by Bill Clinton, and Title 4B, D, and E, the federal government provides states and counties with money when you remove children and place them into foster care. So this is what you mean by he's a bounty hunter for this funding. That's how it works. If you want to know more about it, a very brave woman named Nancy Schaefer wrote something called The Corrupt Business of Child Protective Services, where she explains it further. So go on.
So this is what you have here. This guy Jackson is a hack. He's a hack that works for the state, and he's a hack that he finds an outlandish statistical number of cases that the children belong in foster care. And all this is they're basically milking the federal money. And so I think this case is the tip of the spear. I'm going to be doing more about Jackson, more about this case, but also more about the Doge implications. Because if we're looking at where federal money is hemorrhaging, right? If we're looking at a situation where where we can look at waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption in our system and our taxpayer money, our federal dollars, the family courts are a perfect place under Title 4D, Title 4E, Violence Against Women Act, and several other federal programs that are used not for their intended congressional purpose, but are really used to plug holes in state court budgets. So you have bloated state court budgets, bloated organizations, bloated this, bloated that, and they would not be able to function without a massive federal money coming in. People would lose jobs, and there would just be the business, the industry of divorce, the way that we know it today, if the waste, fraud, and abuse were looked at by Doge. I think that's what needs to happen. Guys like Jackson go in, and their solution to every problem is, well, these kids got to go to foster care until we figure it out. That's scary. It's scary.
The issue I have is, would the Department of Government Efficiency, which is looking the federal government, be able to find this guy's abuse since he is at the county level? Would they be able to find it?
Well, here's the point. There may be counties that operate so outlandishly from other counties statistically. How many counties? There are 435 congressional districts in the United States. And you could look at counties and the big ones in between. Which ones are taking the most money out of the Title 4D, 4E, violence? You could have one of these techs, these Elon software guys, the brilliant 20-year-old autistic kids that could be making millions of dollars a year writing software programs. And I bet you in about 30 minutes, they could write a script or a program to take all that data of the money going out of 4D, 4E, VAWA, all these other programs, and show which counties are the outliers for each. Start with those counties and say, what's the problem in these counties that we're paying an exorbitantly more amount of money in these counties than we are in these others? And then you'll figure out the problem, because you may have waste, fraud, and abuse in those counties using the federal monies to plug budget gaps. And it might be Title 4D in one place, it might be VAWA in another place, it might be another federal grant program someplace else. But once they start turning on that faucet, they never turn it off. It's kind of like the government contractor checks, where they're getting paid $10,000 a month, and it was supposed to be a 3 month contract, and it ends up being for 10 years because the person left and nobody was on top of it, and it just keeps on getting paid and paid and paid and paid and paid. So that's the issue. This is a simple fix. All we're asking for is sunlight. All we're asking for is an analysis that these people at Doge could do very easily. Would you agree, Mike? If you see a county in Illinois that's getting an exorbitant amount of money under Title 4D compared to the population level and compared to everything else, you might want to take a closer look.
I I welcome it. And John Rich is a famous singer. I think he's a country singer. Rachel Bruno, I've written about her. She had an awful case out of California where they took her two sons for not for a while. And, you know, she has some money. Now she has a lot of money, but she and her husband were able to get lawyers and not go broke and got her kids back. And then she sued. And so she's obviously very interested in this. So those are the two people you mentioned. I don't know how much they can see because most of this is happening on the state and local level. But yeah, what you're describing.
But Mike, you're right. That first step that I just detailed, right? Once you take the problem counties, right? You take the problem places, the problem state systems, right? Then you have something called the Justice Department. And the Justice Department can have a task force to investigate this. They're already going to investigate fraud in the courts, especially blue state fraud. And listen, you take the five states. You take New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Illinois, and California, and you turn the Justice Department loose on the family courts in those 5 states. I'd say we'd get rid of 90% of the problems in this country. You know, I think that's all you got to do. All you got to do.
Make it sound so easy. I want